let's celebrate our country, the best we have to give. We feel so proud to be St. Lucia, in paradise we live. And we all have to work together to serve the land we love. Wherever you may roam in this world, it's home you're thinking of. Forward together, let's unite. Hand in hand, let's celebrate our country, the best we have to give. We feel so proud to be St. Lucia, in paradise we live. And we all have to work together to serve the land we love. Wherever you may roam in this world, it's home you're thinking of. Forward together, let's unite.
Good morning, my name is Rihani Isidore. I'll be your moderator for the next half an hour as we officially declare open the nomination period for the National Awards investiture ceremony scheduled for next year. This discussion, joining me, will be members of the National Awards Committee, and of course this committee is chaired by Mrs. Mauricia Thomas Francis. Also joining us are Mrs. Malika Compton and of course Ms. Sharon Ephraim. So the media launch is now, it is live, and let's discuss, Mrs. Mauricia Thomas Francis, the National Awards Committee. What are some of the functions of this committee?
Yes, good morning viewers, good morning Riani, good morning fellow panelists and members of the media, good morning. I'd like to especially recognize the Permanent Secretary in the Prime Minister's Office, Mrs. Esther Rigobert, and of course Ms. Louis, Imam Louis, Secretary of the National Awards Committee. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, the National Awards Committee is nominated by the Governor General, and the committee is charged with the responsibility of participating in such an event, the launch, and also to sensitize the public as to how to go about nominating persons in the community who've gone over and above the call of duty to serve their fellow citizens, persons who have served meritoriously and with acclaim. The committee has a very important role because quite apart from launching and quite apart from sensitizing, we are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that we receive nominations and that the nominations are at the quality, the requisite quality. And when I say quality, I mean that they meet the criteria for the various categories of award and that the forms, the nomination forms are complete in the manner that is required such that we can adjudicate and select the best. We as a committee, we were specifically selected to ensure that there is fairness in the process. We have a team of illustrious individuals on the committee, and if you permit me, I will just let you know who the members are right away.
Please.
Of course, as you know, you've mentioned I'm chair of the committee. We have a representative from the Public Service Commission. So chair of the Public Service Commission, Mr. Cyrus Reynolds, he's the one serving in that capacity. We also have a member representing the opposition, and this is in the person of Ms. Malika Compton. Notice she's wearing yellow this morning, depicting her role.
Of course.
Sharon Ephraim is representing the government side. We also have the Commissioner of Police, who also serves on the committee, and Mr. Wilbert King, former Deputy Chair, and also former Public Service Commissioner.
Yes, yes.
So he's serving on the committee, but this time around, because he's not the chair of the Public Service Commission, he's representing the general public.
Okay.
So in essence, it's a 7-member committee, and
Very
and
diverse.
sorry, I forgot my Madam Secretary, Imam Louis. She's
Yes, of course,
secretary
yes.
of the committee.
And it's very diverse, a healthy mix
very
of individuals from various backgrounds,
Very diverse.
all in the pursuit of ensuring that there is fairness with the selections. Yes.
Fairness and objectivity. Yes.
So now that the nomination process is open, and this process is not new, it's on an annual basis.
That is correct.
But we can still discuss perhaps the eligibility factor, so to speak. What kind of St. Lucians or who are eligible to be nominated? Is there any special category of persons?
Yes, at this point in time, I will invite
Yes.
my Mrs. Compton to go
Miss
through
Compton.
that process. Sorry, Miss Compton.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're seeking all citizens of St. Lucia. They can seek out persons who have gone above and beyond throughout their communities, unsung heroes, to select them for those awards. First of all, we have the St. Lucia Cross. It's only awarded in gold. A person who has rendered distinguished and outstanding service of national importance to St. Lucia. We have the St. Lucia Medal of Honor, which may be awarded in gold and silver. A person who has rendered eminent service of national importance to St. Lucia. A person who has performed an outstanding, brave or human act. A person who has performed acts of bravery in hazardous circumstance. We have the St. Lucia Medal of Merit, which can also be awarded in gold and silver. A person who has performed long and meritorious services in the arts, literature, science, or other such fields in St. Lucia. We have the St. Lucia Le Piton Medal, which may be awarded in gold, silver, or bronze. Persons who have performed long and meritorious services to St. Lucia, tending to promote loyal public service, national welfare, or to inculcate and strengthen community spirit. We have the National Service Cross and the National Service Medals. The National Service Cross of the Order of St. Lucia is called the National Service Cross, may be awarded in connection with the order only to an officer of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, not below the rank of Assistant Superintendent, an officer of the Fire Service not below the rank of Deputy Fire Chief, or an officer of the Prison Service not below the rank of Deputy Chief Prisons Officer who has rendered loyal and devoted service beneficial to St. Lucia. The National Service Medal of the Order of St. Lucia, herein called the National Service Medal, may be awarded for outstanding and meritorious service to members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the St. Lucia Fire Services, the St. Lucia Prison Services, and commissioned officers of a cadet corps.
Okay, so those categories pretty much cover the entire society, the various disciplines. And you use the word that I like, the unsung heroes, right? So this process, this nomination process, does not discriminate. So whether it's an individual, and you can intervene and clarify
Absolutely.
further, an individual who perhaps served in a community as a gardener, and their job and their duties, they've conducted themselves in a meritorious manner, that person may be eligible to be nominated.
Absolutely.
All right, and of course, including members of the services and etc.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
so where can the general public access those forms?
Okay, so thank you, Riani, for that question. Also, I would like to say good morning to St. Lucia. Nomination forms can be accessed on the following. http governorgeneral.govt.lc/honors-and-awards. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
http governorgeneral.govt.lc/honors HONORS-AND-AWARDS.
Honors.
Also, we have them at Accountant General's Department and sub-offices. They can also be collected at Central Library and District Libraries. There are the General Post Office and District Post Offices. Also, you can find them at the Office of the Prime Minister, 5th floor, Graham Lucy Administrative Building. Forms have been submitted as well. We have already submitted those forms to the diaspora, embassies and consulate offices, service clubs, statutory boards, members of parliament and the Senate, ministers and constituency councils throughout St. Lucia.
So now the diaspora is also entitled to be nominated. So this is not exclusive to St. Lucians living in St. Lucia, Ms. Thompson?
It's not at all, not at all. So every year we invite nominations, not only from persons who live in St. Lucia, but nominations from people from the diaspora. And over the years, we have received a number of nominations from across St. Lucia as well as the diaspora. And a number of St. Lucians have been so honored. So today we are asking for nominations to be submitted in the usual fashion, and I must tell you that we are very heartened with the increased number of nominations that we have received in recent years. Last year we received an unprecedented number of nominations, and we took a lot of sleepless nights to go through and adjudicate on those nominations and to select. We had so many, we wish we could have honored everybody. We had a lot of good ones, however we have quotas. And I think I don't know if in her submission, I don't think she mentioned the quotas, but we do have some quotas that we are guided by. So
we can get back to the quotas.
But we can get back to those quotas.
But just out of curiosity,
because I think it's important that the general public know what the quotas are.
Yes, and before we get to the quotas, so in the event that someone is nominated, for example, this year, perhaps they were not awarded in the subsequent year, is it still possible to nominate this individual again?
Certainly, and that's a very, very good question. Because of the quota system that we have to comply with, sometimes you have very good nominations, but we are not able to fulfill all of them. So we always ask the public to ensure that if the nominations do not win in one year, they can resubmit the following year. Some people believe that the committee will just keep the forms and adjudicate on them again in the new season, but it doesn't happen that way.
Reapply.
We're inviting them to reapply.
And then, Mrs. Ephraim, you mentioned that these forms can be obtained not just on the internet, because not everyone is internet savvy, so to speak. So the average person, if they so chooses to, they can visit a library. Where else? Where are some of the other locations? The
other locations are constituency council offices, as well as the service clubs, say example the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club, all of those clubs, they would have forms as well. The Central Library, well, I said that already. The Accountant General's Department, Office of the Prime Minister, which is at the 5th floor, Graham Lucy Administrative Building. Let me also say, Rihani, that completed nomination forms must be sent in a sealed envelope addressed to the Secretary, National Awards Committee, care of Office of the Prime Minister, Graham Lucy Administrative Building, Waterfront, Castries. And I also want to add that, or they can also be submitted online at recognition.govt.lc. All nomination forms must be made on the prescribed form, and all submissions must provide justification for the award proposed and must bear the name and signature of the individual making the submission. Now, in the past, we have received forms that they forget to put the name or they forget to sign.
Yeah, what happens
then?
Those
forms will not be accepted, will be disqualified, because we need all information possible. Both name and signature must be legible. Nomination forms must be completed in their entirety. Don't leave anything out on the form. Remember, deadline for submission of nomination forms is...
I think that was, that may be sometime in December.
Sometime in December. Sorry.
Okay, the date will be,
the 9th of December. Around the 9th of December. Yes. Nominations received after the deadline will not be considered. So we will be informing persons throughout the various media houses. We will be going on and remind persons of the deadline for nomination forms, etc.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about what's on those forms. What sort of information, if you were to nominate someone, what sort of information would be required to be filled out on those forms?
Okay, so maybe the details of nominee. You have the name of the person, surname in capital letters, Mr., Mrs., Miss, etc. The forename in capital letters, the date of birth, nationality, address, the phone number, and the email address.
Okay.
And then you also have award recommended. You must tick the box of the award that you are nominating the person for, such as the St. Lucia Cross, St. Lucia Medal of Honor, St. Lucia Medal of Merit, St. Lucia Lopito Medal, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, or whether it's bronze.
I want to jump in here and go to you, Chairperson. How does the average person know which category or which medal category the candidate should be chosen for?
Good question. We painstakingly go through a process to make sure we educate and sensitize the public. So quite apart from this launch where we are sharing all this information, we also do road shows.
Okay.
We go to the various media houses, we go to the different communities to make sure we educate and sensitize. So I want the public to know that over the coming weeks, we are going to be on the various
the talk show programs, right?
Talk show programs, radio programs. We'll be visiting the communities and what have you.
Okay.
And of course,
to provide that kind of guidance.
Absolutely.
If you're not sure as to what category a particular candidate may be eligible or
Absolutely.
maybe have an opportunity to be nominated in.
Absolutely.
So, Ms. Compson, what's the quota? Sorry.
Excuse me, just to add, the nomination form itself, on the back of it, provides the categories,
Yes.
the classes, and the criteria for each. So it's on the back of the form, so the general public is so guided, in addition to the information that we will be sharing.
You mentioned quotas earlier. How many persons or how many nominations are acceptable per category? Ms. Compton?
So we have the St. Lucia Cross. The Governor General may award the St. Lucia Cross to no more than 3 persons in 1 year. We have the Medal of Honor. The Governor General may award the St. Lucia Medal of Honor to no more than 3 persons in any one class. We have the Medal of Merit, and it's the same as the Medal of Honor. It's no more than 3 persons in that class. Then we have the Lépito Medal. It's no more than 3 persons in each one class, because we have 3 classes in that set of breeds. Okay, we have the National Service Cross, no more than 1 person in any 1 year. And we have the National Service Medal, no more than 4 persons in any 1 year.
Okay, that's all right. That would shed some clarity, but that has nothing to do with the volume of applications or nominations you have to.
Absolutely. So you recall what I mentioned earlier on that we've been receiving. I think last year we received almost 100, if not more than that.
It was,
yes, and of course you heard the quota. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, and persons sometimes who nominate, they get disappointed when they do not win. But the quota is strict, and we have no choice but to abide by that. But again, I remind citizens that they can resubmit.
You can resubmit in the subsequent years.
That's correct.
It's interesting because whilst there are these various categories, very broad, a frequent question that comes to mind is, I have a candidate in mind, and perhaps the form doesn't allow me to really detail why I think this candidate is eligible. Is the public allowed to include additional information about the particular candidate?
This is a very good question, and I'm glad you are raising it. There's supposed to be an element of surprise in the submission of the nomination. So, in other words, the person nominating should not alert the individual being nominated that they have been nominated. But of course, they need to get information to submit. And in the submission, we do not expect to have just a CV of the individual, because the CV might be easy to get, but at the same time, we prefer you know, give us some kind of narrative on what the person has accomplished. So it's about getting interviews done, asking around in the communities to find out what exactly the person has done. So public knowledge is very important, community knowledge, community engagement, to get the information to ensure that the individual doesn't know that they've been nominated.
So people like
so
Ms.
that
Compton,
element of surprise must be there.
And I was going to ask, what people like Ms. Compton and Ms. Ephraim would be going out into the communities to conduct those interviews, or how would that happen? How would that gathering?
No, we don't get involved. As a committee, we have a hands-off approach. Our role is to receive nominations, review them, make sure they are within the criteria, and make a determination as to who qualifies and who doesn't qualify. That's our role. We do not go in the community and suggest who should get a nomination. Now, I want to make another point on nominations. Some persons in the community, after the investiture, you hear comments that so-and-so got an award, so-and-so doesn't deserve, what about so-and-so and so-and-so? At the end of the day, like I said, the committee don't nominate anybody. And if somebody who is more deserving, or the public believes is more deserving, did not submit a nomination, there's no way we can determine, well, Mr. X in the committee should have gotten it over Mr. Y. Because we just don't get involved in that aspect of things. So we are saying to the public, if you know they are deserving persons who have rendered meritorious service and deserve a nomination and deserve honor, please take the time and nominate them.
What happens, for example, if it has ever happened before, when a particular candidate or nominee, it gets to a point where there's a conflict on the committee. A certain number of the committee would like to award a particular individual, as opposed to the other side. 3 out of 4 or 3 on 3. How does that work? If there is a tiebreaker, Ms. Ephraim, how does that work when that scenario happens?
Yes.
If it happens.
Thank you for that question. We have actually experienced that already.
Wow.
And we go back into the application and we look at it again and see where in that application we can extract something substantial from the individual to determine which person should get that award. And we try our best to screen those applications with a fine-tooth comb, if I may say.
Very fine. Okay.
Very fine. And then we come back, everybody come back, and then we look at it, we discuss it, we debate on it, and then we come to a conclusion.
Okay. So at no point in time,
essentially, if I may say that we apply a democratic process in handling those kinds of situations. So at the end of the day, we put the nomination to a vote, and the individual that gets the most votes end up winning.
Okay.
So we do try to be democratic about it.
And it's never been a case, so it's not going to be a case where anyone outside of the committee may be required to...
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
The role of the committee is to deal with the adjudication of the nominations.
Exclusively.
Exclusively.
And then generally, the Governor General. What is His Excellency's role?
Well, let me just tell you the process. Following the receipt of nominations and the adjudication, we submit our recommendations to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister then will engage the Cabinet to approve our recommendations, or there are times when the Prime Minister and Cabinet may decide, okay, maybe there needs to be a little tweaking, because at the end of the day, the Prime Minister does have the authority, because all we are doing is recommending.
Shortlisting.
Recommending to him.
Yes.
So very often we do not have significant changes. Sometimes you'll have 1 or 2.
Okay.
But the Prime Minister has that right to determine that, there could be some tweaking. So the nominations go to the Prime Minister, Cabinet would review, and we will get a response from the Prime Minister's office saying, hey, this is our position. And then from the Prime Minister's office, the submissions are made to the Governor General, where that is where calls are made to the winners. Investiture ceremony is organized, and of course, You know, announcements are made on Independence Day in terms of who the winners are. And usually a week or two after Independence Day, then the investiture ceremony takes place where, you know, the winners are honored. They receive their medals and, you know, they celebrate and blah, blah, blah.
Yes, well, that's, I mean, and the ceremony is often a very proud occasion.
Very, very proud occasion.
The winners are usually present, family members. The ceremony is something. It's something to admire and appreciate.
So it should. We are honoring excellence, you know.
The best among us, you know,
absolutely.
Community leaders, community members, etc. And now we do actually have some highlights from last year's ceremony and the years gone by. So, I mean, we'd like to invite you to take your attention to our screen here, the public. You can just, you know, don't change that channel. And we invite you to reflect on last year's investiture. Last year was quite the event.
Absolutely.
At Government House.
Yes.
I mean, maybe I'm too young to remember, but has the ceremony ever been held at any other location other than Government House?
Yes, indeed. In recent years, we hosted the ceremony at Royalton and at Sandals, but that was strictly because the Government House was under repairs and under renovations.
Okay.
But ideally, that is the home of the National Awards investiture ceremony. Reason being, the Governor General is the Chancellor of the Order, and I think the opulence of Government House makes for a fantastic venue and the most apt venue for such a prestigious event. There are some people whom the only time they ever visit Government House is when they're receiving an honor, and I think it is a privilege, and we need to continue to host these events at Government House. Okay. Logistically, sometimes it's a little difficult because, you know, you have to, you know, make changes, and accommodate numbers and so. But we believe as a committee that the ceremony should continue to be housed there. Yes. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I agree. The venue is ideal. I think it is quite apt for the occasion. But in the event that persons are not everyone can attend, it's also going to be live streamed, yes? And as it has been the case in years gone by?
That is correct.
Okay, good.
That is correct.
I mean, we've covered a lot in the half hour or coming up to a half hour. Of course, there will be more sensitization as the months progress up to the announcement day. Has it been determined what day the awardees will be officially notified?
No, we have not determined that, but the Prime Minister, there's a date that we have proposed such that the Prime Minister can get the nominations or the recommendations to the Governor General, and that is sometime in January. Okay. So we usually give adequate time so that the notifications can go out so people can prepare themselves for what is to come.
Speaking of adequate time, and given the trend in volume of nominations, maybe you may need some more time. Maybe we need to advance this media launch and open the process a little sooner to accommodate more applications. Are we heading in that direction?
Yeah, well, I will say to you that there are members of the community who don't even wait until we launch to submit nominations. We have been receiving nominations throughout the year. because some people know it's coming.
Will they carry over into the official nomination
No.
period?
I'm talking about for this season.
Yes.
Yes. Once investiture ends and the new season starts, or even before it starts, people submit nominations, and that is fine. We just put them on a file.
Okay.
When we're ready to adjudicate, we put all in the pack. Yes.
Yeah.
So that is how it is done.
Now, maybe other than the awardees, what we have some pictures. Maybe the average person isn't aware of what it looks like.
Okay.
The actual medals.
The medals.
The various categories. So on your screens now, in a few seconds, we can get an idea as to what they look like. They will be pretty much what will be handed to the awardees next year when the ceremony is held. And whilst that's being played on the screen there they are. In the coming weeks, what sort of work will this committee be engaged in the next coming weeks? What can we expect? Ms. Ephraim.
Well, we actually will be going out. We have a list of media houses that we will be going out to be able to inform the general public as to what is expected, how they can go about submitting their nominations, etc. So we will be really busy throughout the coming weeks.
And finally, as we wrap up, it's clear, and we will continue reminding the public where they can access these forms: the internet, post offices, libraries, etc., constituency councils. Any phone numbers, any other forms of communication for queries, Ms. Thompson or Thomas, pardon me? Any office numbers, but if there are...
Actually, yes, persons who need additional clarity can call the Office of the Prime Minister and ask for the Secretary of the National Awards Committee, Miss Imam Louis, and she will be able to provide additional information.
Final question. Why should the average St. Lucian care about nominating their brother, their sister, family, or community member for this particular award?
It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. I think it boosts motivation. It promotes, provides role model to other persons in the community to go out and do the same. It gives the nation an opportunity to say thanks, to show appreciation, and to celebrate persons who are selfless. We spoke about unsung heroes. We have lots of them in our communities around the island. And I believe we cannot boast about nation building if we do not honor the persons who actually go over and above the call of duty to excel and to serve and to provide meritorious service in our various communities. And like I said, when we talk about communities, we're talking about not just St. Lucia, but our St. Lucians in the diaspora that are doing tremendously good work out there. So, if I may, I think we're coming down to the end.
Yes.
I want to take this opportunity to thank all those citizens over the years who have taken the time to submit nominations. I am thanking those who have already sent nominations for this season, and thanking in advance those who are going to be sending us during the course of the next few months. I also would like to thank my committee tremendously. We have an illustrious group and we work very, very well together. So I'd like to thank them for their hard work and to tell them how proud I am of the great work they've been doing for the committee and for the nation at large.
All right.
I'd like to thank you as well, Rihanna, for the opportunity, on behalf of all three of us, for the opportunity to be here.
This was fun. This was very informative. Thank you all for making yourselves available to continue to elucidate the public, inform the public on this very, very positive and nation-building endeavor, in my humble opinion. St. Lucia, thank you for joining us this morning. The media launch for the National Awards comes to a close. However, the nomination process is open. It extends or goes up until possibly the 9th of December. The committee will, of course, provide updates between that time. Again, thank you for tuning in to the NTN channel, and the committee looks forward to vetting your nomination forms. Good morning, St. Lucia.
Thank
Hand in
you.
hand, let's celebrate our country, the best we have to give. We feel so proud to be St. Lucia, in paradise we live. And we all have to work together to serve the land we love. Wherever you may roam in this world, it's home you're thinking of. Forward together, let's unite.